A new report by Rolling Stone looks into House Speaker Mike Johnson's views on American culture, which he calls, quote, dark and depraved. In an October prayer call just last month with the World Prayer Network, weeks before he became Speaker of the House, Johnson talked about an America facing a civilizational moment.
The only question is God going to allow our nation to enter a time of judgment for our collective sins, which his mercy and grace have held back for some time? Or is he going to give us one more chance to restore the foundations and return to him? We will not be able to do it without the Lord's help, because the flesh is, and the mistrust and the sin and everything is so great here that this is going to have to bring people to their knees. And I believe God is about to do something.
Do you have time to answer the question, say any more about the issue of this could be a time of judgment for America?
Well, I mean, I'd say I'd preach to the choir on this Zoom call, or maybe the honor choir. You all know the terrible state that we're in. The faith in our institutions is as low as it's ever been in the history of our nation. The culture is so dark and depraved that it almost seems irredeemable at this point. The church attendance in America dropped below 50% for the first time in our history since they began to measure the data 60 years ago. And the number of people who do not believe in absolute truth is now above the majority for the first time. So 1 in 3 teen girls contemplated suicide last year. 1 in 4 high school students identifies as something other than straight. We're losing the country.
Where to begin there, Joe? There's so much. America is irredeemable. It's dark and depraved. Let's lift ourselves out of the subtext. He went on to say, really, what he's talking about here is that we have gay people in America. He said 1 in 4 high school students say that they are something other than straight, is the way he put it. So he's very worried about that. But also, I just have to say, Joe, he said the faith in our institutions and doubt about absolute truth. This is the man who helped to lead the attempted coup against the United States government and overturn the 2020 election. He's very worried about faith in institutions.
Willie, he ran the big lie on Capitol Hill.
Yes.
Preach about that, Jimmy Swaggart. Right? And then go to your motel room and start like faxing around, conspiratorial documents. It is the hypocrisy. There's so much hypocrisy to go back to, whether it's Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, whether it's Jimmy Swaggart. There's so much hypocrisy to go to here about a guy, again, trying to undermine our institutions. The guy who led in the House of Representatives the attempt to undermine the United States Constitution, an American presidential election, and an attempt to basically end American democracy. And then suddenly, this great prophet, this Jeremiah of our times, went quietly silent as mobs rushed the People's House where he was and battered and abused police officers with American flags that our soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen took into battle over 200 years to defend this country. The hypocrisy, in the words of, I think it was Homer Simpson, when somebody accidentally threw communion water in his eyes. It burns. It burns. There's so much hypocrisy here. That's part one. Part two is, I just have to go back to the question I asked yesterday, and I'm serious. Why do Republicans hate America so much? I'm an evangelical. I believe, whether people think it's crazy or not, I believe, what the Gospels say.
All right.
I believe what the Sermon on the Mount says. I believe in Jesus. We're all sinners. We're all fallen, right?
Yeah.
But I'm very optimistic about America's future because I see the good in people. I see the good in this country. It's interesting. He's like trying to dig statistics about, I don't know, drag queen shows or something.
Yeah.
What I see is that not so long ago, teenage pregnancy at an all-time low in America. That's something that we always heard about, the Southern Baptist Church growing up. Child poverty over the past year at like a 50, 60-year low. Like, our economy doing well, a lot of things going in the right direction. But I've got to say, if he's worried about pews emptying out, talk to young people. And so many will tell you, and Russell Moore's talked about this with Christianity Today, they're emptying out because they don't want to go to a church where preachers worship Donald Trump instead of Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So he represents the fullness of the emergence of the Christian nationalism that sees America through a very different gospel than the one that the man they profess to follow, Jesus, preached. In fact, as reported about a month or so ago, where you have now evangelicals thinking that, we can't follow the teachings of Jesus because they're too woke.
Right.
All right,
what about
Jesus becomes woke for guys like him?
And weak. Woke and weak. And Don Jr. and other people around Trump said, the whole thing about turning the other cheek, that's too weak.
That's too weak.
That doesn't work anymore.
So, haven't they banned the Bible in some districts in Texas?
Yes. When you start banning the Bible and things like that, when you start reimagining the teachings of Christ in your image, or in the image of Donald Trump, you have a problem. The problem with the speaker, from where I'm sitting, it harkens me back to the concerns that people had about Catholics in this country for a long, long time, getting them close to power, and where their papist tendencies would be the thing that animates the government. What's this? What is this? I would say to the speaker, could you, before you open your mouth the next time, could you go and read what the founders said about religion, number one, in this country, as they were forming it? But number two, go read their stories and understand what kind of men they were. They weren't the kind of Christians that you think they were, that you make them out to be. Many of them, they were deists, some were atheists, and yet they created this thing that you're now trying to reimagine in a way that even they tried very hard to avoid.
Yeah.
And so I think, to your point about the pews in the churches, the fact is no one, whether you are 30 years old or 90 years old, want to hear that from a political leader.
Well, that's my next question for you. What percentage of Americans does this appeal to? I mean, a large percentage of the Republican Party now?
Yeah, about a third.
About a third.
The evangelicals.
But it turns off.
But does it? I mean, Ron DeSantis seems to give it a vast majority.
See, it
turns off.
And this is why they keep losing elections, because they're focused on their third of their party, their 40% of their party, which makes up about 20% of the electorate.
And Ron DeSantis ran a campaign based on the idea that a lot of Americans were up in arms about exactly the kind of thing that the speaker has just been speaking about. And where is he, even in the Republican primary polls? Falling like a stone.
Wokeism doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Nobody cares about it that much. They don't want it in there. I think that's such a smart point, that people don't want... It's not what America was founded on.
But can I just say that? Because we need to pull back and see that. So you have this supercharged Christian nationalism saying America is the next Sodom and Gomorrah, and that the government's turned its back on God, when the very guy who's done it has turned his back on the Constitution, the truth, and God by leading the big lie. That's in the legislative branch. But we have to talk about the Supreme Court. I mean, Leonard Leo's an extremist, and he's an extremist in his views about the Constitution and Catholicism. Yeah. I mean, it's an extreme view of Catholicism that has put extremists on the court, that has led to the overturn. I mean, nobody talks about this enough, but we are talking about this happening in the House. This is the Supreme Court. I mean, is every appointee Catholic there on the Republican side? I think one may have converted to becoming an Episcopalian, a good waspy Episcopalian. That might be Gorsuch, I don't know. But they're all Catholics. They all have a view of abortion and other issues that have led them to overturn against all sort of public opinion polls, and I would say against pretty good, strong 50-year president, to overturn the right to abortion.
Well, again, it's the reimagination of judicial constitutional principles in a religious way, and so that's the connection that sort of draws these individuals to this space. Now is their hour, their time to do these things.
But is it? Look at what has happened since Roe v. Wade in the last year. State after state has reaffirmed the right to abortion, and there's no less abortions now in the United States than there were before.
Right.
So they had their moment. But the people have spoken, I would say.
Well, but that's the ultimate check.
Yeah. Except for the Supreme Court will dominate American political life and our bedroom lives for the next 30 or 40 years because they are young and they will be there for a long time. I mean, it seems to me that this, in a way, is one of the things that always strikes people from the outside looking at American elections is how you cannot win an American election unless you profess your faith, particularly your Christian faith. So isn't this just a logical extension of that? Wasn't this inevitably going to happen, that if you have to say, I am a Christian and I believe in God and Jesus in order to be elected in this country, how does that
well, Biden does.
The kind of Christian nationalism?
He's not a Leonard Leo.
But
he's not a Leonard Leo Catholic, but Biden professes his faith.
But he doesn't wear his faith.
But he doesn't talk about it all the time.
Yeah, he doesn't wear his faith as a political shield.
But there isn't a lot of room in American political life for the kind of atheism that you were talking about was there amongst the founding fathers.
No, I mean there isn't today. You're right about that. But what's important?
Well, and by the way, the founders didn't go around saying, "Hey, everybody, I'm a deist."
Right.
They were politicians too. They played both sides. But there is no doubt it was a more secular approach to government that started changing actually in America at the turn of this. Well, I want to get to Jimmy Carter, but like in the 19th century, there was sort of a great reawakening that turned its back on a lot of the sort of the classical thought of the founders.
But remember, the